611 Films YouTube channel. My name is David Groves, is one of your hosts. With me, as always,
Neil McKay, what is up?
Neil McKay. We are back in 99.
Happy Election Day.
Close. This will be right before. So
depending on when you're seeing it, I guess.
Depending on when you see it, it'll be posted the day before Election Day. That is correct. That was sort of an idea of, hey, why not do a election right?
Why don't we do this movie?
Day?
And I am wearing this in honor of Matthew Broderick, who got stung by a bee in this movie, and I stung by a bee.
Yeah, he had
in his little sight gag where he's like, oh, it's like walking around the whole movie like that.
Yeah,
just looking,
right.
Which just adds to the absurdity of this movie.
More of a satire, teen comedy, dark comedy, I guess you would say. But to me, obviously, very different from the teen comedies we were doing back in like sort of the wintertime, February, when we had a lot of those. Teen driven, very just like either American Pie, sex stuff, a lot of like stuff like that. And this, I think, I don't know if you want to call it like an elevated teen dramedy.
Yeah, I don't know what you would call it. I mean, it's definitely it's like a satire, of course.
Yeah.
And it's like obviously poking fun at high schools and what it's like to be, to do these elections. And
I remember seeing it, I think, back when it sort of came out. I don't know if it was on a DVD and I was like, yeah, that was okay. I don't know if I really, and I rewatched it as I normally do if I don't remember it really well. And I was still just like, yeah, that was okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel. Very middle of the road with it.
I think I would give it a little bit better than that, but I do agree that it was like critically acclaimed and just was so like, oh, this is such a genius movie when it came out. And when I saw it, I was kind of like, all right. I mean, I liked it, but I wouldn't, put it up there.
Right.
But I mean, I definitely enjoyed it. I think it was just kind of strange because I'm watching it and it was sort of like, am I supposed to root for Matthew Broderick? Because he's kind of scummy, and then Reese Witherspoon is kind of not like a psychopath, and it's like, so who's the protagonist here?
Aside from like Chris Klein, another actor, jumping from one 99 movie to another, like we've seen so many times before, American Pie to this, and playing still playing the jock, but kind of the goofball, like dum-dum kind of character.
Yeah. He was kind of like the nicest, most likable person in the whole movie. So
absolutely, he's in any movie. He's probably just so easygoing and nice.
Just his narration did the thing, like talking about, whoa, I was surprised when she was blowing me. It's just like stuff. It's just so random.
There were a couple of those.
But there was some cool like plot twists, I thought, where it was like, okay, like Tracy Flick's running unopposed, and then he comes in, and then there's the whole drama with his sister, and then the girlfriend and everything, and then the sister runs, and it's like, and then her whole thing is like anti-authority and like, who cares about this election, and then everybody loves her, and it's like, oh man, like, so I dug that whole kind of, and then of course Tracy Flick's like, this is all messing with my plans and what I want to do. So
just someone just starts to annoy you, like the goody two shoes that is Tracy Flick, because I had a couple of those in like in high school or college classes or something to that effect, where you're just like, all right, yeah, we get it. You did the assignment 4 weeks ago, and it's just that thing where you're still just like, good for you, like great, but you're just
no, it's like those people.
Calm down.
Those people are easy to dislike, and I get the whole like that part of like the Matthew Broderick disdain for her. But like, was it like the driving force? Like his faculty buddy like had an affair with her, and then he gets fired over it, and then Matthew Broderick's like, but Tracy Flick didn't get in trouble, and I'm just sitting there going like, she's a minor, and what?
Right.
It's like, hang on a second, your buddy is a pederast.
Yeah, something about this.
Like,
this was another thing I was going to bring up. I was like, could this movie be made now? And I'm like, no, probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, it could. I guess it could be, but it would take all that stuff so much more seriously.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think people would like lose their minds over something like that, and
Another one of those movies that was like a little bit more sexual than I remember, like pr- pretty crazy, and not
Yeah.
in that, like I said, not in that American Pie kind of way of just like teens being teens with each. It's just the adults
Yeah,
and
no,
they're
I know
coming
what
in.
you
It's
mean.
weird.
There is stuff like that kind of throws you for a loop. Like again with the Chris Klein, like the narration, because he's just like a good, guy. And then he say something like, and then she comes over to my house after school and we fuck, and then and it
Yeah,
just like out there, and you're like,
yeah.
it's kind
Oh,
of random.
and just to jump backwards a little bit because I was like, oh, what's the point I was going to try to make? It's like the goody two. It's like the people that I was just like with were those that always said, oh, I probably got like a C or D or I failed that test, and they always
Yeah,
get an A. That
yeah,
always drove me up a wall with certain
it drove
people
me. Or
that
the
would be
like,
like, oh, I probably, yeah, I
or
didn't
the
even
raising your
study.
hand, like, is that going to be on the test, or is it? Are we going to be quizzed on?
Yeah,
Just like, yes, just assume you will be. Did you what do you remember from like your high school election process, or do you even like?
I don't think I do remember any of that stuff because I never really did like that student count. I mean, we did have one of those like student
Yeah,
assemblies that people would go up and sort of talk and, if you will, a popularity contest. But nobody's making the speech of free pizza on Fridays
yeah.
or
It's
you
like
have that
so
sort of thing. It's like that's not really going to work. It's like very all right, we'll deal with prom and we'll try to do fundraisers and we're going to do this and
right
that and
stuff that people care about, and it's like, how do you get it? Yeah, and for the most part, I don't really remember except for my senior year where there was like a guy that was kind of like. I guess he was like a friend like that year. Like, I mean, we hung out at like lunch and stuff, and he was running. And this was, of course, I'm dating myself here, but this was before this movie came out. But he was doing this kind of like what the sister, what was her, Tracy Wexler, what's the sister's name? Chris
I'll throw
Klein's
it up on the
sister.
screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which who tragically died. Apparently, I just realized that I'm
Wow.
doing my
Did not
notes.
know that.
She I don't know if it was COVID related or something. It was during 2020, and it was something. I don't think a cause of death was given, but it was something about flu like symptoms.
Yeah.
That
Hmm.
she had. She was only 38, and
Yeah,
it was just like,
that's
man.
that's weird. That's too bad. Hmm.
But kind of her thing with running was like, screw the man kind of thing. And this friend in senior year kind of did that, and he was going against these like goody two shoes, kind of candidates,
Sure.
and he was this like schlubby guy, and it's like this guy doesn't have a chance in hell. But he goes up during the debate, and he makes the like master debaters joke, and everyone loves it, and then he got elected because he was funny, and people. And that was
Yeah.
it. I don't even know what his platform was. He just was like, I'm funny. And then they were like, well, let's vote for that guy. And then,
Funny can win the day. Hey, that's not so off in this country. When someone's being
it's,
funny,
yeah. It's
yeah,
like, hey,
let's
I
not
like
take
what
so
that
much
person has to
serious.
say. And then,
Yeah.
and then that's it.
Like I said, I did like it. I think it's pretty good. I think it does have that humor. I don't think people today might really get it. I mean, I don't know. Alexander Payne movies are sometimes a little tough to. I mean, they are pretty funny,
Yeah.
but they
Well,
also
I
are
mean,
very
that's the thing.
drama.
You kind of forget that it was him that, well, I mean, I sometimes forget because I love Sideways and I love About Schmidt. And then,
Right? Yeah.
I sometimes I forget, oh yeah, he did this. Or now more
Just in the
recently,
holdovers, which
right?
was
I was
really
going to say
good.
more recently, and then it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's right, he did Election. Like I kind of forget about that sometimes because I feel like Sideways, About Schmidt, Holdovers were like better movies that kind of showcase kind of what he's all about.
Right? Yeah.
And this was good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's just
It's tough to say it's like a teen film that teens should watch, but it's also like I don't know. It's just I feel it's dated. I feel it might be a little dated. That's
it's
kind of
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I could see it being like a cult hit or something like that, but it just didn't
yeah. I'm
like.
sure.
It was kind of trying to be more like satirical versus like I think something like Sideways or About Schmidt were funny, but they had like a more humanity to it, and these characters felt like more real, and there was more of like a poignant message. Like at the end of Election, I was just kind of like, what was the point of that? Is it just everybody a shithead and everybody just wants what they want and screw everyone else? You know what I mean?
Sometimes they just get it. Yeah. You can't mess with destiny, as she says right at the beginning, because it'll happen no matter what.
Yeah.
That's why it's called destiny. But hey, check it out if you'd like. Happy Election Day. Thanks for watching this episode of Back in 99, and we will see you again with the next one. Later.